Yes, indeed. Welcome back to the Cajun Libertarian Live. We are back in Indiana where they are doing some incredible things. We have the Indiana Libertarian Party State Chair, Evan McMahon, with us, and he is really moving the needle and doing some great things, and I'm super excited to talk to him. I know that y'all are ready to hear from him, and we can hear from their success. So, with all that being said, let's bring him on. Evan, what's up?
How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Busy times every day.
What's the weather like up there?
It was actually really nice today. I spent all of it indoors fighting for liberty, but I hear it was really nice. I went outside for a minute and caught code enforcement in my neighborhood measuring people's yards. So I was like, hey, let me pull the weed whacker out real quick and go around the edges. Don't find me, you son of a... And then he left, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm done. And then he came back inside.
Nice.
So I've got an uneven front gate now.
That's funny. Nice. Well, at least you're out there doing some hard work for whatever reason.
I'll finish it when he comes back next month.
Yes, indeed. Hey, look, I would rather you be fighting for every individual's liberty and freedom than outside weed whacking. That's for sure.
I mean, I would say that I love gardening and I love being out in the yard, which is completely true. But I think I would rather be fighting the legislature or fighting the governor or challenging laws in court and, building a system where activists are trained and know how to do these things themselves. So they don't need me.
Right.
And building the tools for our candidates and our county parties to be successful in ending the tyrannical stranglehold here in Indiana, and then hopefully the rest of the states, and then, God willing, the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I love hearing you say that because once again, we did not talk about that prior, but that is the message from every single person that comes on this show. And that's this is real leadership, and that's training people to take your spot. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to train people to take our spots. And you're leading that. That's awesome to hear you say that. Say that, hey, I'm going to train you to do it so that you don't need me. That's exactly right. That's what each of us need and should want and desire to do, because our communities are absolutely longing for leaders, and we are those people. So thank you.
I mean, that's, I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I've trained people all across the country. I've worked with candidates all across the country, and the number one restraint, the thing that hurts us as a movement and as a party and as a political force the most, isn't money. It isn't, the lack of those resources. It's not the lack of media attention. It's not that. It's the lack of boots on the ground.
Right.
Whether it's people who know how to write legislation and know how to lobby their state legislature or their local city council, or it's people who know how to go door to door, or it's people who know how to make a bulk mailer that gets dropped off at the post office. Like, all of those things are skill sets that we need in the party. Yeah. And while I know that big wall of weird books behind me, I know a lot of weird and crazy things, and I know how to do that stuff. I'm one guy, just one person. We need an army of people to be able to do that. Because I eventually have to be able to lay down and take a nap. And, what we found here in Indiana is we've got people like Danny Lundy in Morgan County and his Morgan County crew, which is amazing. He's got a lot of people who step up there and take on individual roles, and they learn how to do that one thing or, a couple of things. And so their county is just absolutely crushing it. Like, they've got press coverage every single week. They've got two of their officers, or one of their officers and one of their regular party members, have been appointed to zoning boards in their county.
Yes, indeed.
And so, they're absolutely doing it. And that's what needs to happen is we don't need one leader. We don't need one celebritarian. We don't need, I may have, see that right there? That's the mini me. That's actually
Nice.
3D rendering of me. We don't need that. What we need is every other person finding their ability, finding their strength,
That's right.
finding the thing that they can do, and then saying, how can I use this to benefit my county party, my local candidate, the movement as a whole? What can I do to channel that? It's my job as a state chair to be there to say, when you're ready, I'm going to help plug you in to these things over here.
Yeah, you're facilitating for sure, facilitating and delegating. And I've said this a bunch of times, and I'm going to keep saying it because it matters, and it ties into exactly what you're saying right here, and that everybody has a role. We all have a role to play. We all have a role to fill, and that goes with just about everything in life. But specifically to this liberty movement, right? We have a role to play specifically that we are going to be very good at. And there's not going to be a lot of people that are better than us in that capacity. And it's really mostly, I would say, about finding that role and then walking it out. And I see everybody, and not everybody maybe, but all of y'all, all the people coming on, all the people in the comments everywhere, all over the place, finding their role and finding their rhythm. Find a rhythm, find a groove, and stick it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, we were talking earlier about, Pennsylvania and Indiana being the top two states. The other states can suck it. We're the best. So, what makes us the great states is that we have leadership that plugs you in. We have leadership that says, let's find the thing for you to do. So I get phone calls and emails from people all the time, and they say, "Hey, I want to volunteer. What can I do?" I'm like, "I don't know. What can you do?"
Right.
if I have you go door to door and you're an introvert, well, you're going to hate that.
Exactly.
What if you're a videographer and I've got you sitting down writing press releases? Like, that's dumb. Tell me what you like to do. Tell me what you're passionate about, and then let me help you find a place for you to put that energy into it. Don't just come in, because I've got 5,000 things on my board that can be done, but you're not going to like most of them.
That's right.
You have to tell me, and I don't want to spend the time saying, well, here are the 5,000 things that we need done on a daily basis. Which of these 3 would you like to do? No. Right. You tell me what you are capable of doing, and then what you're passionate about doing. Because sometimes the thing that you're capable of doing is not the thing that you're going to be passionate or what to do. I know graphic artists who are really, really gifted who refuse to give me their time as graphic artists because it's what they do all day.
Right.
Instead, they're like, hey, instead of that, can I go door to door? Can I do phone banking? Because I spend all day in front of my computer designing graphics. Yeah. Okay, cool. I respect that. Like, you tell me what you're passionate about, what you like to do, what your skills and assets are. And from there, I'll loop you in and try to keep you engaged. And we've got a field director. His name's Morgan Rigg. He's also the temp chair in DeKalb County. They're on their way to becoming one of our newest county affiliates. So if you're interested in volunteering, he's going to say the exact same thing that I just said to you, but he's also the main point of contact for that. And you can reach him at field@lpin.org. And his name's Morgan Rigg. But he's the one that's going to help you find that space to do that. And that's kind of what I've tasked him to do is don't tell people what to do. Ask them what they want to do.
Yeah. And I've heard the best teachers are the ones that learn their students and what it is that they do best and their ability to learn at different levels. And that's super important that we reach people on an individual basis and we reach them exactly where they're at and find out what it is that they love and find out what it is they want to do. A lot of that, finding that space in between each other can happen at the very beginning when we're talking about liberty with new people. I don't want to sound like a preacher. I like to hear, like, right out of the gate when I'm just now talking to you, and I meet a lot of new people every day, so it's very advantageous for me. It's not that way for everybody. I get that, but I get to feel that part of them out that aspect and perspective of what it is that they could define even from the very beginning. And I think that's super crucial because we actually desire a drive. Give me a task. We desire that as humans. And I think that's super important. We just got to find the right task.
I'm going to take a brief moment here. Hey, Ken, that is Fitzlaff. That is field@lpin.org, not field.lpin.org.
All the comments are coming in.
It's an email address. So
Nice.
I try to watch you and me and them so that I can see everything going on.
Yeah, it's funny. He actually corrected me on that prior. Well, I actually messed up a website. So
yeah, I've watched that like a hawk.
Yeah, that's excellent though.
No WW. It's an email address, buddy.
He's gonna get it. He's gonna
freaking
get it.
Boomers. Okay.
Yeah.
Ken's awesome. Ken's awesome.
Oh yeah, he's great. Sonny says more people would be willing to volunteer if they get to do what they're good at and passionate about.
And sometimes it's also not necessarily the things that you're good at because on a lot of campaigns that I've worked on, people come in not having anything that they perceive to be a skill set, and sometimes you might not. You might not have like a marketable or useful skill, but you want to learn something. So like I worked with people. I mentioned bulk mailing because it's a really complicated process to send out legitimate, mailers, political mailers. There's a whole process to it. If you do it wrong, then your mailer could end up not hitting people's mailboxes until after the election. So there's like a whole process behind it. So like I'll sit down with you, and if that's something that's interesting, let me teach you how to do it. So part of that is learning how to do the thing. So like I'm a knower. That's because Bush said I'm a doer.
Right.
So I'm a knower. I know a lot of things. I've done a lot of things on campaigns, and so that's one of the assets that I can bring is being able to teach the next generation of how we're doing it now, or how we've done it in the past, and how you can adapt it as technology and consumer responses change.
Yes.
Because some of the things that I've been using for the last 20 years and 10 years aren't going to be relevant anymore. So that's the other thing is as a leader, I have to realize and understand that just because this is the way it's done now doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to be done tomorrow. In 2010, I worked on one of the very first campaigns in the country that held live town halls. We had virtual town halls. It was a congressional campaign, and it was one of the very first in the country that did them live. Nice. And it took 15 different programs connected to each other to be able to do it and be able to get live engagement from people like this. Nice. This took 15 programs to do it. And it started with a campaign. That was like kind of the first time it had ever been done. If you had told me 10 years prior to that we were going to be doing that on the internet, I'd be like, why? The kids who use the internet, they don't vote. Like, that's dumb. Why would you spend all that time and resources doing that?
It's funny.
18 to 24, they don't vote. But it actually made a huge impact. And now I look at it in the past year and I go, if we didn't have these connections, if we didn't have these devices that gave us the ability to have these types of interactions at a drop of a hat, like I schedule Zoom meetings all the time with people where I'm like, hey, instead of me like trying to tell you this by text, let's jump on Zoom and I'll show you how to do it in the back end.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, we're on Zoom.
Yeah.
And you're seeing my screen. So like those things change and we have to be able to adapt to it. But it takes people saying, hey, I want to learn how to do this thing the way other people have done it in the past or are currently doing it today. And maybe you're going to come up with a new way, a better way of doing it.
Yeah. Oh, man, that is awesome that you say that. It's so great because I just interviewed Brian Nichols on Sunday. And one of the things that he really pounded in, and I'm listening to his show a lot now. That guy's way better at this than I am. He talks a lot about that sales marketing.
You had me on.
There it is.
So you're better.
Oh, I'm better. Absolutely. Hey, Brian, I hope you're watching, my man. I just outranked you, homie, live. Right here, you heard it first. But one of the things that he really is driving in, and I love about it, I agree totally, is the sales and marketing and strategy. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And I told him live that at first, and it's from a past experience with some other things, but it's like, man, I get what you're saying about the sales and marketing. It just sounds so callous. But I think that it serves a huge purpose, and I think that mindset is a winning culture when we apply that to our strategy. Because I do think a lot of what we have been missing is actual strategy. Communication's a problem. We were talking about before this how you guys had. You know, your flat line is not where everybody else's flat line, but the way you were able to do a lot of this was through communication and other things. But that's what highlighted in my mind is that communication is so important. And so I guess I just went ahead and prefaced for you to go into that subject. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we were failing as a party was, you know, you join the party or renew your membership and you'd get a donation receipt. And maybe you'd get an email about the state convention coming up, but maybe you didn't. And that's basically it. That was the communication you got from the state party. So one of the very first things that we started doing was let's send out weekly notices, regardless of what it is. Let's make it important. Let's not just be like, hey, it's the next week. Right. Thanks for tuning in. You know, let's do something. Let's highlight something that's going on in a county. Let's highlight a potential candidate. Let's talk about, you know, a policy position. Let's talk about a call to action, which is something else that we're doing is we're doing calls to action, not during legislative cycles or during legislative sessions. So, you know, having that communication with our members, but then all of the other contacts in our database, like we have over 10,000 contacts in our database. So it's important for us to be reaching out to them as well. You know, there's stuff that we want to say just to members because, you know, you've committed your time and treasure right. to supporting the party. So we want to acknowledge that. But we also need to be communicating with the people who maybe haven't crossed that threshold yet, because maybe this is the email, maybe this is the subject matter, maybe this is the call to action, maybe this is the thing that the government has done that gets you to finally switch and to commit. But so that communication, the fact that we send out a press release every single week, you know, in point of fact, like when, I don't know if you heard about what happened with our Republican SOS candidate, Secretary of State. Did you hear about that?
Oh, I heard a little bit about it. I was really hoping you were going to say something. Go ahead. Yes, please.
So that was part of our communication and part of our strategic plan. So we have an 8-year strategic plan, and part of that is monitoring stuff like this. So, you know, I pay attention to the legislature. I try to understand the laws that are in place. And follow our state constitution. And we had a rule on the books, and those books right there, that's Indiana election code right there, for like the last 8 years, updated each year. In there, it says that during a budget session, any candidate or office holder for the state legislature, whether it be state senate or state house or any statewide office, are prohibited from fundraising while they're in session during a budget year. The session typically ends around April 28th in a budget year. So this is the law. It says and it actually says that you cannot fundraise until after they have adjourned sine die, which means without a date. So it means they're done for the year. They'll come back next year. So there was a problem this year because of COVID. The census data was delayed. The census data is what we use to redraw our maps every 10 years, our district maps. Okay, well, our state constitution says that they must draw the new district maps before they adjourn this year. So they can't adjourn, but the time's up and they don't have anything else to do. So they said, okay, we're just going to recess. We'll come back and we'll do this when we get the census data from the feds and that's not expected until the beginning of October, so we'll adjourn November 15th. And then somebody pointed out, hey, you realize you can't fundraise at all for the next year if you do that. And they're like, oh, okay, well, let's change the law, and we'll just say you can't fundraise until after April 29th. Regardless of whether or not we're in session or not, April 29th. So April 30th, you can start getting money.
Why the arbitrary date?
Because that's technically when they would be out of session, so that was why they picked that date. So with that law passed, the bill was passed, but had not yet been signed by the governor.
Right.
So technically, the old law that said you can't fundraise is still in effect. Now, this was April 24th. On April 24th, or 25th, excuse me, the current appointed Secretary of State, who is a Republican, appointed by the governor, and that's a whole other kerfuffle right there.
Right.
She did her first interview announcing her campaign for re-election, even though she was not been elected, she was appointed.
Right. Her
re-election campaign, she put out an announcement, she did her first interview, and she started asking for donations. This was on April 25th. The new law says not until April 29th. The current law says not at all. So within 45 minutes of her making that announcement and specifically putting out there, please donate to my campaign. So she solicited and accepted funds. We put out a press release that said, hey, Secretary of State's violating the election law. And I had a couple of nice little quotes in there, something along the lines, if you're vying for the office that will be enforcing election and campaign finance law, it's probably a good idea not to break those laws. So we hit her hard. And it turned out that the other Republican candidate, Diego Morales, who is challenging her for the nomination, also did it at the same time. So we sent out, contacted all of our media contacts, and because of the timing, it was within the hour that she had made her announcements, sent out her announcements. So all of the news coverage was, half of it was her announcing her campaign, and then the second half of the post was libertarians calling her out for violating election law.
Yes, indeed. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we do right there.
All of the articles about her announcement have that in it. And I was like, oh, that's a sad day for you, lady. Sorry.
Great.
And so to the point where other news outlets were crediting us. They were like, hey, none of us, reporters were like, we weren't thinking about this. We thought they fixed the law and everything was fine. We didn't even catch this. If it hadn't been for the libertarians, no one would have known.
I'm shocked.
That's right. It's because we have to live that crap every day. Our candidates have to be perfect with it. So we have to know. And so we were, for 2 weeks, I'm talking to our lawyer who advises us. And for 2 weeks, I was like, one of them's going to screw this up. Somebody's going to screw it up, and we got to be ready. I didn't realize it was going to be everybody. It's going to screw it up. But so we were on it. We were ready. But people listen to our press releases because we've been engaging, because we've been contacting them about things that aren't necessarily stupid. We're not just sending a press release to send a press release. We're actually sending things that might have relevant substance to them. And we get more and more of those things being printed. But because of that, they were like, hey, let's take a look at this. They're accusing the SOS of violating election law on the day she makes her announcement. Let's read this. And they're like, holy crap, they're right. If we hadn't been communicating with them, that would have just been unread in their inbox. But instead of that, we got a lot of really good coverage out of it that showed that. One commentator, one radio host said that the Libertarian Party is actually proving that they're ready to be a force in politics in Indiana.
That's right. Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that actually. And we're going to bring this back around because I want to keep talking about this. But since you mentioned it, you have a background in radio, right?
yeah, it's a community
I got
radio,
you.
but yes,
I
yes,
got
I
you.
did. Ah! Yes, I used to have a radio show in my hometown. I did. It was awful. Actually, it was a great show because I used to play the randomest music, and then I would talk about. And I was pretty young. I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I would talk about some of the things that the government was doing, our local city council,
Nice.
just kind of taking them to task over dumb things that they were doing.
Nice.
One of the big ones was they had instituted like an 8 p.m. curfew for anybody under the age of 17. And it was over the summer. And I'm like, I'm 16 and I have a job.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to be home by 8 o'clock, but yet I'm going to get in trouble if I get caught out here. And so it was this whole thing. And I took them to task over, and they actually then repealed or they didn't repeal it. They hadn't passed it yet. They were talking about doing it because it was like a 3-stage process. But so they ended up killing it because we got a bunch of young people who were employed who came there, people who like were doing youth groups with their churches, and like, you know, all kinds of different, like, you know, good kids who were like, you're hurting me because parents suck at their jobs. So like, stop being our parents. Let our parents be parents. And it worked.
Right.
It worked.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's awesome. Well, I was actually going to ask you how you transitioned from radio to politics, but you just answered that question. You were always involved.
I started in politics when I was about 6 years old. I worked on my first campaign with my aunt. It was something for us to do together.
Wow.
For one of her friends who was running for office. They were a Democrat, though. You know, we just kind of kept doing it because it was something that we could do together, that we enjoyed, and it was fun, and it was helping her friend, and we kept doing it. Awesome. And I stayed active, and I kept doing it, and I found that I had kind of a passion for the numbers and the strategy of it all. And then so everything else that I do involves politics in some way, shape, or form. Like, I make horror films. That's one of the things that I do is I make independent horror films, and the themes in my films are fairly libertarian. It's making personal choices for yourself, and how nobody else is responsible for you. So, you know, I can choose to help you, but if you do something stupid and hurt your leg and we're running from a zombie horde, it's not my job to sacrifice my life to carry you. Right. Maybe you shouldn't have done that stupid thing that caused you to.
I'm actually a huge zombie fan. A lot of people don't know that about me. I absolutely love. We're big Walking Dead fans until it was wore out.
I'm still a fan. I'm excited about. I mean, this season has been really slow. Yeah. But I'm excited about the 3 movies. Fear the Walking Dead, I did not like it the second half of the first season, but now I actually do like it. I had to go back and rewatch it because it's actually pretty good now. The World Beyond is an interesting play because now it's the first generation of kids who have grown up in the Walking Dead universe. So it's kind of interesting to see the choices that they make because they've not known anything other than this. Right. So which makes me think about like,
sounds familiar.
Right. Like, what choices would you make if you weren't part of this society? You know, how would that change? And so I think it's brilliant, but I really like the 3 movies that they're going to be coming out with. I'm excited to see that, and excited to see what direction they take with that. I am kind of sad that this is the last season of the original series. Right. But, you know, I feel like as slow as this season is going, there is so much left of this story to be told before they get to the final scene. And I don't want this to be like Game of Thrones where...
Right, exactly. They just rush through the end.
you get the last 2 episodes and they're like, okay, we're going to give you 5 minutes of this thing that should be 30 minutes and hope you enjoy it because we ran out of time. I don't want that to happen. I'll be pissed if that happens.
Yeah. So, well, that being said, you had mentioned the things about things going in a certain direction. So a lot of what I do here is trying to get people pointed in the right direction and trying to get exactly what you're talking about is boots on the ground. But not just that, with Indiana really being a trailblazer, like what do you see next for y'all and how y'all can kind of help a lot of us out, nationally in our own states and our own communities?
I think one of the big things is, so you got to look at kind of like a tiered system of I'm gonna be kind of crazy here. You have to have a systemic, holistic approach. It's not one thing over here. You have to have all the pieces of the pie connected. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So, we could say, at the end of 2020, we had 25 county parties in Indiana out of 92. We worked our butts off. We had some really amazing people in several counties that stepped up. And now we have 44 active county affiliates. We've got 10 more that we're working with right now that are coming on board. By the end of this year, we'll have all 92 counties affiliated. Okay, that's great. Like that's something to be excited for. That's something to be passionate and proud of. But he's showing you my horrible side of my other wall. But the part of that is you have to have things for people to do. You have to have gotten those people in that county to be interested in being part of not just the state party, but part of the county party. And that initial success was Dawn Rainwater. That was our initial, push to get people involved in forming their own county party. Was they were passionate about Dawn, and then they got to know the party, and then that transitioned or became conjoined. Right. Okay, well, great. Well, now you have a county party. Yay! What are you going to do with it?
Right.
Okay, so you have to be doing things. You have to be engaging people. You have to be doing stuff in your community. It's not about holding a business meeting where you talk about, what you're going to do for the next year. It's about holding socializers. It's about going out and demonstrating within community. This past weekend, we had our first Super Saturday event, which is where we go to one county in one of the districts, and we work and do stuff with that county party. We went down to Clark County in Sellersburg, Indiana. And, Russell, the chair down there, they have a food bank in their county party headquarters. And they open it up every other Saturday, and they provide, at no taxpayer expense, meal kits, boxes of food. It's about a week and a half for a family of 4. They provide them for people in need in their community. So this past Saturday, we went down there to go and be part of that and to help them, build these boxes, stock the shelves, talk to people, and be part of that process. And so they're doing something. They're doing a thing in their community that's not about getting votes. It's not about, having a conversation about policy. It's not about, antagonizing the zoning board. It was about, there are people in our community who are hungry. Let's help feed them. It's as simple as that. Now, that's not going to be necessary for every county, but find the thing in your county to do. Yes, you need to be talking about policy. Yes, you need to be challenging your local elected officials. Yes, you must be, doing these other things. But you need to find that thing that demonstrates libertarianism.
Yeah. Because
it's all academic. It's all book work until people see it. I don't care about, or I don't want to know about what you care about until I know you care.
Yeah.
And so, that's part of it. That's one of the pieces. Then there's the communication. And, for us, one of the things about finding out what people are passionate about from a political side, from specifically like issues they want to get involved in. We have our call to actions, and we've made it very easy for people to get involved in our call to actions. And so like Hammond, Indiana, up in Lake County, the gangster mobster mayor up there, Mayor McDermott, went after a citizen who had a "fuck Biden" flag flying in his front yard across the street from a park. But it's in his front yard, his private property. He went on Twitter and he said that there would be legal consequences from the city if he didn't take the flag down. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. There's actually a U.S. Supreme Court case on this very word. And this is a protected word within political speech. Just because you find it vulgar and offensive, it's still protected speech.
Yeah.
So then the mayor comes back and, oh, well, we're not going to fine you for the flag. We'll just send code enforcement to find other reasons to fine you, and we'll keep that pressure on until he complies.
Oh,
that was the quote.
God.
So we partnered with some other, conservative, like pro-Trumpy groups, Republican who ran for Congress.
Whatever you got to do.
In another district. We agree on this issue. So let's work together on this issue. And
exactly.
Me and Lucy Brenton, who's my vice chair, we drove up from Indianapolis to Hammond, Indiana, to go and speak out against that. But while that was going on, you could go to our website, and there was a page where when you typed in your information, if you lived in Hammond or in Lake County, your city councilor, your county council, and your county commissioners were all populated, and then you could send an email to them telling them that you were unhappy with them violating this man's First Amendment rights and threatening him with legal action if he didn't comply. So, and it worked. Well, I mean, it didn't work. He's a scumbag. But the mayor.
Right.
But people got engaged, and we had, if I could show you the numbers of people who very quickly and very easily were able to log on, go to that, put in their information, and then send an email to a city councilor or to a county councilor or a county commission. We've been doing these for a while. We didn't have it set up like that. We had it set up to where like you had to go like click on our link, click here, and then you'll go to this website over here, and it will tell you who your legislator is, and it'll give you their contact info, and then you can send them an individual email yourself, and then you got these 4 other people that you need to do. And it would take you an hour to get through it all. Well, we made it super simple. It takes 3 minutes, and that's if you want to edit the email that we suggest. And then you just hit send, and it goes to all of them, to the point where like we spun up another one for the Morgan County has a ridiculous sign ordinance.
That's awesome.
And the counselor there actually contacted the county chair and said, hey bud, can you take my email off of that call to action? Because I'm getting a lot of these emails. And he was like, no.
Yes, indeed.
Change the law, change the ordinance, and we'll stop bothering you about it.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Talk about...
and that just shows that it works. Like if you're willing to reach out and be like, please stop, then we're going to be like, no.
Amen.
So it absolutely works. But that tells us what's an issue that you care about and where are you?
Right.
So if you're in Hammond, Indiana, well, then I'm going to tell Chuck Poland, who's the county chair up there, hey, these people are interested in First Amendment rights, and they're really angry about what Gangster McDermott is doing up there. And, if, Danny Lundy in Morgan County gets, he said some horrible things about our people. So, like, the gloves are off, dude.
There you go.
So, if Danny Lundy, the county chair in Morgan County, like, he now knows who the people are who are upset about this sign ordinance because they're participating in this call to action. So he can reach out to them when they don't, do the amendment, when they don't try to make this better. He can reach out to them and be like, we tried. Remember this. Remember that. Because like literally what they were doing, so there's this little strip of grass between your sidewalk and the road. Now it's your property. You are paying property taxes on it, but the city believes that between the sidewalk and the road is the public right of way. So you can't have a sign there. So literally, like, there was this kid who's like, I think a football player or something. I don't know the whole story, but like something happened to him and everybody was like, Luke Strong, whatever, I don't know what his name is. Right. So what the city was doing was, because originally they were just pulling the signs and taking them, and people complained because the law says they have to give them 3 days notice.
Right.
And they're like, well, how do we give you 3 days notice? So they were like, oh, we got an idea. We'll print these giant pink obnoxious stickers. And when we see your sign, we'll come over and we'll put this giant pink sticker in the middle of your sign. So like your Just Be Kind sign, or your church fish fry sign, or your yard sale sign, or the, support this local teen who was injured in a car accident sign, like giant pink sticker in the middle of it threatening you and that they're going to take the sign. Like, so, people got pissed off about it, obviously.
I guess so.
And they didn't care as much when it was just targeting political groups. But then when they were like doubling down and being like, well, we're not going to get rid of it because we hate those libertarians and we don't want them to have signs, so we're going to screw everybody. Yeah. And then they're like, well, wait a minute, hold on, this sucks. So they're getting angry about it. And, when the people in power are trying to keep their power and prevent competition, and it affects everybody else, then the people are like, hey, why are you doing this? Like, what's the real reason why you're putting this giant peak sticker on my Just Be Kind sign on my property? Yeah. Like, why? Because what you're telling me sounds like BS. Right. So, but anyway, Danny gets to now connect with those people because we've built that system.
That's awesome.
So it's all about having the ways to engage people, to communicate with them, find them on their issue, be ready to go out and do things in the community, and indeed, plug people in. If you call me today and you say, Evan, I don't have a lot of experience. I'm passionate about this. I want to see my county thrive. My county is just a lockdown cesspool of crap. I'm going to say, okay, cool. Let's get you 3 other people together and let's affiliate your county. Let's make you guys a county party. Let's start there. Now let's start organizing events. Now let's start having public discussions. Now let's start training people to be monitoring the city council meetings and the zoning board meetings and the school board meetings. Right. And now you have a political force in your county. And when that is solidified, your local candidates, we have a bunch of elected libertarians on the local level here in Indiana.
Exactly.
Now you're a force in that county.
That's
so
right.
Now if the county next to you and on the other side of you and north of you and south of you are all pulling in the same direction, even though you may have different ways of doing it, you're all working towards that same goal. Well, now you're a region political force. Now you're a district. Now you can win a state house seat. And when you get a couple of those together, now you've got a state senate seat. When you get more of those together, now you're building for a statewide office or a congressional seat. You mark my words. Indiana is going to be the first state to elect a libertarian to Congress.
I
don't know when. I'm not going to say when. I'm not going to say like 5 to 10 years. But Indiana will be the first to elect.
I've had a person on the show that's running for Congress as a libertarian. He's in Montana, so you got your work cut out for you. But let me go back to what you just said as we get ready to close this out. What I really want to highlight, what you just said, was the fact that you literally just took everything that I've been trying to encompass in this show. Encompass, right? Not accomplish, but encompass. And that's taking the very specific issues on a micro level and translating that into success on a macro level. And that's where we have to work, is from the bottom up.
Who screws you the most?
The local government.
Is it the feds? Is it the president? Is it the UN? Is it, NATO? Or is it your local town council?
Yep.
Is it your county commissioners?
Yep.
Is it, that's where, I mean, we started the show talking about code enforcement. I can't tell you, when I look at the property taxes in my neighborhood, in my area, and I see how many of them have been assessed fines that are now attached to their property taxes because of missing screens in their windows.
It's incredible. That's right.
The weeds being too high, all of these different things. And the thing is that if you're in a situation where you get in that spiral of being fined every day because your grass is too tall, and then you get the report 30 days later, and now you owe them thousands of dollars, and you're on a fixed income, or you're poor, you're one of the working poor, you could lose your house. They're going to take your house because your grass was too high.
Yep.
Local government. This is where we have to be the most effective. If I can show you resistance on the local level, if I can make your life easier on the local level, then you're going to trust me at the state level. You're going to trust me in the state legislature. Then you're going to trust me in Congress. But first, we have to show you that we are going to fix things for you now.
That's right. Exactly. We have to meet them where they are. It's exactly what we were talking about earlier. And we need to show them face to face that not only do we have a philosophical solution, but we have a practical application for your issue. We have the solution at hand right here, right now. You guys are leading the way. I love your passion. We did not get a chance to talk really before. And so that's always kind of, like, oh, what's going to happen? Wow, man, you're incredible. You're wildly entertaining. You're very intelligent. You're a great model of success. The whole state. You're very inspirational. I'd love to have you back on, and you can tell us exactly how much you've improved. Not just that, but just more of the future and the standard that we all need to be trying to meet. And meet better in our own state. So thank you so much, my friend. Is there anything else as we walk out of here that you want to drop?
Just, if you're in Indiana, get involved with your county party. If you don't have a county party, get with me and let's help get you a county party. If you're in another state, get involved. Find out where you can fill those gaps. Go to lpin.org in the upper right-hand corner.
No, you had it right the first time.
There's a donate button. It's reversed back for me. But in the upper right-hand corner, there's a donate button. Even if we take contributions from people not in Indiana, your money's just as good, even if you have a crappy LSU sign hanging up on your wall. We'll take your money. That's right. I saw it. We'll still take your money.
I just realized that date we had scheduled for the future got filled.
It just got bumped. Help us out.
Yeah.
Money does help these things. The programs and projects that we put in place do cost money, and we try to even that load out and be able to still provide for our candidates. So if you've got a couple extra bucks that you can spare, please do at lpin.org. But most importantly, get involved with your party wherever you are in the country. Please support your candidates. Go out and knock doors. Phone bank. Even if it's just taking around copies of the pledge, the Liberty Pledge or the LP News or something from your state party, dropping it off in your dentist office or wherever you're at. Just, those little seeds of Liberty ideas. Just don't be a jerk about it. Be nice. Right. Be friendly.
Thank you.
Be professional. But just reach out and talk to people, and then volunteer. Go help out. If one person knocks on 10 doors and we get 100 people to do that, that's a lot of doors knocked on.
I mean,
you matter. Yep. You matter, and your effort, your time, and your treasure matters to all of us.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Y'all get in the comments section. We'll be involved here in a little bit. Evan, you are the man. Thank you, my friend. I hope to see you.
Brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I hope to see you again real soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Man, you guys, awesome show. Thank you so much to Evan. Thank you so much to Kenneth, who I've had on the show, who's on the Cajun Libertarian team, just a phenomenal activist. I just think what they're doing in Indiana is super special. I think that the systematic approach is very Very, very important. Again, I will beat this dead horse. We're taking what works on a micro level and seeing a macro dream come true. We want to get this as far out as possible. We have to do it on the ground, boots to the ground, finding out what it is that you're special at, finding out exactly what it is that you love, and just getting involved. Like I told y'all before, a lot of you are watching and listening now. I reached out to my state chair prior to ever starting this Cajun Libertarian brand thing. This is all very brand new. I reached out to mine over Facebook or Twitter and just started talking and got involved, So reach out, get involved. We love you. Every one of y'all are very special. I love y'all very much. I will see y'all again very, very soon. And wow, no brakes, all gas. Love y'all.